So the first question I have for you has to do with what the traditional move-in weekend would look like. I'm a first year. I know a lot of people that are going to read this story are also first years. So we haven't actually gotten to experience the more traditional move-in weekend. So I was wondering if you could kind of give me like a brief summary of what move-in weekend would have looked like if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic.
The traditional move-in weekend, the first thing you would have noticed is you didn't need an appointment because we moved in the entire first year class in one day. So you would arrive anytime from 8 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Someone from the faculty or staff, it could be the president, it could be your dean, it could be one of the guys that works for the grounds staff, would meet you with a golf cart with a box in the back of it. Then there'd be a group of maybe a dozen students, sophomores and juniors, would jump upon all your stuff, grab it, take it upstairs to your room. So by the time you and your parents were ready, all you had to do was unpack in the room. Very simple, very quick. We would do as many as 1,500 students in one day with that system. Wow.
Yeah, that's definitely very different from what this past weekend looked like. Yeah. Could you describe for me some of the new steps the university had to take this year in order to make Move-In Weekend happen?
Yep, we had to make MoveIn safe. That was the overarching objective. First of all, no golf carts. First of all, appointments. You had to make an appointment because we had to spread people out.
Right.
To ensure that we didn't have crowds that were waiting, queued up ready to move in. And we would do what was referred to as a touchless check-in. We would fill out all the forms for you that in the past you would have filled out, and you'd gotten your keys and you'd be good to go down to your building. You'd park near the building, shopping cart or a flatbed, and because there were no student volunteers, again, to avoid close contact, unfortunately, you and your parents or your helpers, whoever they were, would have to make those trips back and forth. And depending upon what floor you were on, it could be a pretty tiring exercise. And then, of course, first weekend events were very different from the past as well. We're looking forward to opening up more of the facilities after Labor Day. We've created a menu, and I say we, it's more like campus recreation and the student union. Mm-hmm. Events that instead of having groups of 8 or 10 people, it's individuals or pairs. So that we're hoping, by the beginning of next week, there's going to be a lot of choices for folks that want to get involved. They're filling the pool right now, for example.
Yeah.
And so stuff like that, we're kind of excited about.
Right. Fingers crossed we're able to keep things going and we don't have any major catastrophes along the way.
Yeah. We've had remarkable compliance from people wearing masks.
Kind of going off of mask wearing and distancing and everything. Could you tell me a little bit about how some of the newfound responsibilities staff members now have on campus with enforcing the distancing and stuff, and how well they're adapting to all of these newfound responsibilities to keep campus running?
Yeah, well, as I said, it's been a little easier for staff members because the students have been so willing to cooperate. But the responsibilities, during first weekend, I probably bumped into a half a dozen groups of students walking to some place, and some of them, as is the custom anywhere you go, would have their masks around their necks or on their chins or on their foreheads. And it wouldn't take much to say, hey guys, let's put the masks on. They were more than happy to put it on. They understand what it's all about. And from what I'm hearing in some meetings I've been in so far, it's been pretty good. There's very few people that have not understood that once they get inside a building, they've got to put their masks on. Mm-hmm. And if they're walking across campus, they should put their masks on. I think people have seen President Edwards out. And as you may know, maybe you don't, she has a special incentive in her case to get folks to wear masks because as a breast cancer survivor, her immune system is substantially depleted. And so in her case, if she comes anywhere close to that stuff, it's going to be dangerous for her. And there are others like that who have those kinds of situations. And so we're pleased to see all the cooperation we're getting from folks while they're on campus doing what they're supposed to do.
Were there any major hiccups or issues or things that just didn't go as planned during the move-in weekend process?
Yeah, I think one of the obvious ones is that we had assumed a different arrival pattern, and we'd spread out what happened, but we spread out the arrival appointment schedule too thin. But we could have probably done it simpler and served people well. We were concerned about traffic on the front end. We were concerned about families moving themselves in on the back end. But those were the two biggest ones. The other concern we encountered was there was a separate meal plan during the first weekend for students who came in. Hard for the RAs to get their floors and say, come on, we're all going to go eat because of social distancing and trying to find some place to have 25 people sit together. That's almost impossible. You're sitting 6 feet apart unless you've got a megaphone.
Sure. Tell me about how many people are living on campus this fall compared to about how many on average tend to live on campus?
This fall, we've got about 1,150 students living on campus. Historically, like for the last 10 years, our average would have been around 2,500. So half. And that's unfortunate. But the upside of that is we end up being the only school in the state of Ohio, public or private, that's able to do single rooms, which is the ideal guideline from the Center for Disease Control. But there are authors that are saying there's no way you can depend upon an 18-year-old to cooperate and do the right thing. And we're seeing that at Wright State, where they are cooperating and doing the right thing so far, which is great. It's a pleasant surprise. And I think, I've been here for a couple of years. I'm not surprised a lot because the students here are sometimes understand better and see the long view. We want to get you guys to Thanksgiving and not have to shut down early.
So are there any specific regulations students should know about on a daily basis related to COVID, like temp checks, any symptom tracking, stuff like that?
We're asking students to be conscious of their physical well-being. If you don't feel quite right, there was I think another symptom that's frequent is unsettled stomach, something like that. You don't feel right, and not to wait too long to check on that. We're fortunate to have the folks down at the Wright State Physicians Student Health Center available to us. Students, out of convenience, can call down there to Wright State Physicians to Student Health. They'll do a telehealth interview like we're talking right now, where Janessa Merritt or one of the other staff down there will try to over WebEx decide, have you got it or not.
What ultimately led to the decision for no visitors and roommates altogether for students in the dorms?
We wanted to get as close to or exceed the Center for Disease Control standards. We are dedicating ourselves to get to Thanksgiving. That's been kind of the mantra, is to get you all to Thanksgiving so that at that point in time, if you want to stay home and take your exams from there, or if you want to stick around and take them here, your choice. We don't want to be in a position like some schools that have already closed down their housing before they even opened up because so many things have already happened.
How does living in the woods or in Honors Hall differ from living in an on-campus apartment in terms of staff monitoring if any of the gatherings are happening, or even just in terms of in the apartments, people do have roommates as opposed to in the dorms, it is completely single?
Yeah, as far as staff monitoring, there's nobody sitting out in the hallway or on the balconies with binoculars or with a stethoscope listening at doors. Their job there is to keep folks safe. If they encounter something that's not right, they will contact those folks and talk with them. But we're counting on folks to respond to that positively and move it forward so we can get to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, definitely. And then I think the last question I have for you today, and I feel like students and I might kind of know the answer to this somewhat already, but what will determine if some of the restrictions in place lighten up throughout the semester or even throughout the academic year?
I think the longer we go without a significant number of COVID cases on campus, we know we're going to have some, but the longer that we go, the cooperation we get from the students, the ability of us to work together to manage those situations. Students have got to think safety. We've got to do our job as administrators as well. Will get us further down the road. Nationally, the number of cases is going down. Ohio has been stable for a week or two. Mm-hmm. If Ohio keeps going down and the governor's office, if the Ohio Department of Health tells us, you know what, we think it's okay, you can start to loosen up a little bit, then we'll loosen up. But right now, we are complying with what the state of Ohio is telling us to do.